A quick note regarding capital flight and secret cabals. I mentioned 2 chapters ago that capital flight is people. Whenever I say that, what comes to mind is Phil Sebin tossing a buffet tray to the ground, before slamming his fists to the floor. Anyway, let's dissect the terminology. In capital flight, capital refers to money, flight refers to it going somewhere. There is a misconception out there that money has a life of its own. Money isn't alive, people are. The worrisome part of capital flight is the people attached. I said in my last chapter that money returns to where it came from by default. Whatever is left is people. They have agency, they have skills and knowledge that were acquired over time. If they decide to leave your country because neo-fascism scared them away, the money is the least of your worries. I'd like to make clear. Canada is not neo-fascist. Expect an influx of capital flight from much of Europe, especially Italy and Germany, in the coming years. This is called something else as well, brain drain. That's what I mean when I say capital flight is people. Now regarding secret cabals. Do you think there is an organization running in the shadows that is dedicated to ruining your life, and the life of everyone like you? Do you think there are secret agents watching you and your social media posts? Are you worried this organization is trying to suppress the population by various means? Are you also worried that they're trying to make the rich richer and poor poorer? You may be onto something. However, a mistake would be to believe that your own government has intent for any of that. In another chapter I will delve very deep on the implications of this. For now I'll say, there are shadowy figures. They are enemy spy agencies. I'll give you another 3 guesses who they might be. Just like any other country, there are enemy spies, and what I like to call espionage artists at work in Canada and in the United States, as well as all other Western nations. These enemy espionage artists are tasked with destabilizing our society by a variety of means. They fill the ears of the far right and the far left. They pin those 2 groups against each other. For the regular people, they caused the housing crisis by buying property and leaving them unoccupied. They keep rapid transit infrastructure projects off any agenda. 3 pillars of a prosperous and cohesive society are common language and school curriculum, attainable housing, and rapid transit. 2 of those pillars are shattered. Rapid transit, how it will make housing more attainable. In the supply and demand chapter I made reference to a type of housing inflation. At the time of this writing, August 2022, dense parts of Canada are facing severe housing inflation. As well, we are facing the worst worker shortage in history, which has very little to do with unvaccinated people being fired. It has more to do with a baby bust and mass retirement. If you check out the demographics by age on the Stats Canada website, you will see that there are more people about to retire than there are working age adults coming of age. It's about 50,000 and rising until all the boomers retire by around 2034. At which point the deficit of human capital will be around 100,000. That will stay steady until most of the boomers pass away. The world isn't as clean and perfect as a diagram or chart, however. Currently that 50,000 deficit of working age adults translates to 350,000 workers needed in Ontario alone. The reason for this is individuals have dreams. Those dreams aren't always to be a carpenter or nurse. Most dreams are to be a teacher, lawyer, accountant, graphic designer, YouTuber, gamer, a rock star, an actor, comedian, best-selling writer. Once these dreams fade, those individuals find themselves by necessity in jobs that are actually needed. What I'm saying is there is always an imbalance to what is needed in the economy, and what people want to do. That's why a 50,000 people deficit, Canada-wide, translates to a 350,000 worker shortage in Ontario alone. This chapter will explain how building out rapid transit will fix the housing crisis and potentially fix the baby bust. There is currently 1 million more homes than full-time workers in Canada. That's staggering. There is 1 million houses or apartments just sitting there empty. Why is this possible? We don't all want to live in Timmins or Windsor, that's why. Or I should say some of us wouldn't mind, but the commute back to the city would be horrendous. You could ask then, why commute? Find work closer to home. It's not that simple, because there isn't work in small cities or towns. Not enough to sufficiently occupy all the residents. That's the reason people commute to large metropolitan areas from small towns, every day. What keeps people from moving to a place where there is lower rent, is the fact that most work, and most profitable work, is in the large cities. If they don't spend all their money on rent in the city, they spend it on a car and gas needing to drive into the city every day. Commuting is not only a wallet killer, it's a time killer. That time could be used, making a family, then later on, spending time with a family. How many times have you had a conversation with yourself or significant other that goes a little like this? I can't wait to move to a bigger place so we can start a family. I can't wait to move out of my parents' place, then me and so can start our life together. High-speed rail, which are trains that move upwards of 200 kilometers per hour, make it possible to live significantly farther away from where the work is, and get there in a reasonable time. As well, this opens up access to places people wouldn't consider purchasing a house. What this does is drop demand everywhere else, meaning housing prices will collapse to a reasonable and realistic level. This also means people who dream to start a family could do so earlier than they would have. You may ask, why do we need high-speed rail now? We never had it before and we were fine. What's true is, we did have it before. The brand new continent-spanning technology that brought people closer together, and allowed for urban sprawl in the 19th century, was the regular old rail. The difference is population density. People have upgraded, and so too must trains. In the 19th century, Canadians were able to spread across the continent and make route. Now, however, those old spaces are taken up and new spaces must be opened up. The biggest cities in the 19th century are the biggest cities now. People still need to come into the city for work. They will need to from further away. High-speed rail is essential for this. A simple way to do this is upgrade all existing passenger rail systems, so that they can support higher speeds. That way, we won't have trains to nowhere, we will have trains where they already exist. Transit time from point A to point B will be significantly decreased. This makes living further away from work more realistic for most people. Moreover, this won't destroy the automobile market, nor will it destroy the air travel sector. Most people travel by air for vacation, not for a daily commute, and not for 200 kilometers. Also, those who commute now by train from the city, also use cars, and they will do so with high-speed rail, just from further away. Over time, both industries will boom because of higher demand due to an increased population size. Now, for those who believe the Earth is overpopulated, I'm sure your reasons to believe this come from a morally dignified place. However, the situation, just like most things, is more complicated. I don't myself agree with the thought that the world is overpopulated. Much less do I believe that Canada is overpopulated, but I'm sure we can agree that housing prices are excessively high. Whoever thought that high-speed rail would have any connection to housing prices? Moreover, who would have thought that housing prices would have anything to do with a declining birth rate? I hope now that you've read this, you can see there are connections that aren't entirely obvious until you think deeper, and truly objective about the subject. I hear the left saying that burning more fossil fuels is bad. High-speed rail will only make the climate crisis worse. I would say, most high-speed rail is electric. 58% of Ontario energy is nuclear. Nuclear is the cleanest energy we have. Cleaner than solar and wind. Why? The raw material needed for both are mined. Mining is carbon intensive. Electric output from wind and solar are negligible compared to nuclear. So, the same amount of mining for either results in an unbalanced power output in favor of nuclear. Meaning, more mining is needed to reach an electric output from solar and wind to match nuclear power. I hear the right saying, high-speed rail isn't profitable, it'll bankrupt us. First off, if you read the rest of my work, you'd know that you can't bankrupt a country that prints its own money. Doesn't work like that. Secondly, it doesn't need to be profitable. Ask the TTC about its profits. It still runs. Its purpose is deeper than profits in the scope of itself. Not to mention, that Japan's Shinkansen is profitable. Even if a high-speed rail system in Canada never makes a lick of profit, the people it will transport will make more profits for their companies because of an increase of production. Production is a country's true currency. Moreover, applying high-speed rail will allow for a baby boom. Most people want kids. If you allowed them access to the opportunity, we could be in for a golden Canadian generation to come. Next chapter I will talk about overpopulation and the climate crisis.